Yeah, I got something to talk about. Hi, I hope you're doing well. So, the other day while I was sitting in the car, I was reading a book, and it's a book that I find very, 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 very helpful, and I'll recommend it to you after this video, if I even remember. I'm just joking. But I was reading it, and I decided I needed to take some notes and jot some things down, because whenever something sparks me, that's kind of like, dang, that's really helpful. I resonate with that. That can help benefit me. I know it can benefit you as well. And if I'm learning something or kind of just looking at something in a different perspective, I want to share that with you. So maybe you can start seeing things in a different perspective or start thinking about things differently, this, that, and the other. So I was reading this book, and it was talking about happiness. And for some reason, that's not necessarily a topic that I even enjoy reading about. Like how to be happy, how to do this, how to do that. Because life isn't always easy, you know what I mean? And so I feel like a lot of us kind of have this burden on our back where we expect ourselves to be happy 24/7, or when something bad happens and we don't get over it quick enough, it kind of is a struggle to us. And I think what has been happening for probably the beginning of time, since people have, had the ability to share their thoughts with one another, since people started writing books and realizing there's different religions out there, I think we have the wrong definition of what it means to be happy. And I think we are going about it the wrong way of pursuing happiness. Because if we have the wrong definition or understanding of something, how the hell can we go about it and think that we're going to find the right way, right? So, as I was saying, happiness isn't really something that I like to read about, because sometimes I feel like I don't want to force emotions on myself, right? But as I've gotten older, and it's not even like as I've gotten older, but the more that I've kind of just been experiencing life and not being so obsessed with it, not being so confined within it, not being so distracted, I've started to realize what it takes to feel that sense of happiness, or what happiness is, and how to get there and how to maintain happiness, and have faith in yourself that you're going to remain happy without having, huge hiccups. Because I promise, I know what it's like to have a huge hiccup of, a depression that can last for 3 years until you finally start feeling back into your mellow self, right? We've been there before. And so I'm reading this book, and I just wanted to write down, or I wrote down a couple things that I was just like, oh, all right, I'm going to share this with you guys. Another concept that I kind of want to have side by side with happiness is moderation. And I'm going to go into more of what I mean and why I think it is so important to, let me find my piece of paper. Why it's so important to understand what moderation is and how to apply it to your life, and why it's so important, right? So, first I want to start off with my understanding of kind of happiness and how I have been able to get myself out of depression states, how I have managed to calm down my anxiety. And like I said, I think it's because I've started to understand what happiness is and why I was wrong to begin with. So, happiness is having the ability to endure and cope with any situation. That doesn't say smiling, that doesn't say laughing, that doesn't say being, jolly, happy-go-lucky. It's having the ability to endure and cope with any situation. One of my favorite little sayings that I have is that control is not ours to have, but the way we react to it and the emotions we have afterwards are. That is what we can control. So as I've been living life, being a human in this weird world we live in, we got a lot going on, right? We have the outside world with its facade of events, situations, people, places, and things, right? And then we have our inside life, our personal life, which is also filled with people, places, things, and events. So we got all this stuff going on, right? I've been having this idea, kind of thought, and I wanted to share it with you, that I think with the understanding of happiness, we've also had false understandings of mental illnesses. And I know that's a broad statement, and I'm not referring to every single mental illness that is out there. I understand that there are mental illnesses that are genetic, and I understand that there are mental illnesses that can be when we were just born, and it may not be genetic. But I also had this theory that I remember back when I got diagnosed with major depressive, manic depressive disorder, something strange out of the books. Like I literally read it after I had my doctor's appointment. I was like, oh, okay, that's new, So, but before I had that, before I had anxiety, I used to know, like, even when I was a kid, I was this carefree spirit that had no worry in the world, right? I think the only thing I would cry over is if I fell and scraped my knee. So as life went on, I started realizing that, damn, I don't feel as happy as I used to when I was a kid. And I fell into the habit of that unhappiness and that feeling, and me not understanding where this unhappiness is coming from, why it's coming, and how to deal with it. So I think, as I was thinking about it yesterday, I just fell into the negative habit of controlling and coping with my emotions, and it led to me being in a depressive state. It led to me having anxiety. But just saying that I have a mental illness of depression and anxiety, and not going all the way back to kind of think, this isn't what it is. I think what I did and what I had been doing was not understanding how to cope and endure any of the situations I was going through. It wasn't that I wasn't happy, that wasn't the point. I think my inability to cope with things led to me being depressed, led to me having anxiety, led to me having mental illnesses. When in reality, I don't think it's a mental illness. It's a habit of not coping with problems in a healthy manner. So when bad things happen or were happening to me in the past, so say for example, when my uncle passed away right after my mom passed away, or when I blew out my knee right after my dad passed, like all these different things, since I was a young girl, 16, 17 years old, I haven't been coping. I haven't known how to endure with things because I had so many weird things smack me in the face that I was not ready to, whether it be mentally, my age wasn't there. Sometimes things just happen and we're not ready for it. And me not learning how to cope with it then, it's like I just went down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, what the hell's wrong with me? My anxiety got to the point where I was like hearing voices and just all this stuff. You know how stress can control our minds. Our thoughts can go crazy. I think if we take a step back and understand what happiness is, and that it is just the ability to understand it, to cope, to be patient when times are crazy, to understand that everything is temporary, life is still going to continue to go on, that we can cope with this, we can let this not ruin our lives or make this into a bigger thing. It's like when a bad thing happens, we have a little magnifying glass in our pocket and we just walk up to it and we look at it and we're like, damn. It's like objects in mirror are closer than they may appear, but we forget that warning label and we're like, oh, and we're just staring, like I said, through the mirror or through this little magnifying glass, and we're just like, we blow up our problems to be so much bigger than they really are. So then that causes anxiety to be even more crazy. But as I said, it's almost like these are all just habits, small little habits that maybe unconsciously have been undoing themselves or tying themselves together. You know what I mean? Being able to control thoughts is probably the number one thing that is going to lead to peace and just being content. And I think those words are almost synonymous with, I think that's the right word, synonym. I think those words are a synonym for being happy. Being content is being able to cope with situations, being able to endure them. Patience is being able to cope and endure with things at a humble manner, at a mellow manner, Yeah. Sometimes we have to force ourselves to become happy, to find that sense of peace again. We have fallen into the habit of coping with unhealthy means, whether that be drugs and alcohol, whether that be through social media, whether that be through being a recluse in our home, whether that be through just negatively going back and forth with friends or just always complaining about our problems and never fixing them, right? It's just a habit that we've gotten into. We have to force ourselves out of that habit. We have to force ourselves into a place that is happy. We need to force ourselves outside. Then it will become a habit. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. So if just once in a while we sit down and meditate, once in a while we do a nice workout, once in a while we actually sit down and meaningfully eat without watching TV or without on our phones, We have to force ourselves into the wild. Like I said, the woods are always calling and it's always waiting. That's the beauty of it all. As much as it seems like this life is so horrendous and disgusting, the woods are still calling, the forest is still calling. All the distractions, they're always going to be here. That's also something that can be of a plus to understand, is that it shouldn't be of a surprise if a distraction comes up, or if you find yourself becoming immersed in something. For example, like we were talking about how if you have an addictive personality, you can become addicted to the negative coping mechanisms that you have. right? I mean, I've even experienced it. There's times where hours pass by and I realize I've been just watching YouTube videos because I haven't been feeling myself, but in reality, I could have gotten so much done. I could have vacuumed the floor. Whoa, I was gonna knock that over. I could have vacuumed the floor. I could have walked the dog. I could have sat outside with my cat, you know? I could have washed all the pots that I want to put flowers in. We have to force ourselves to do it, even if we may be crying along the way. Maybe if we might be frustrated and angry along the way. The more we do things that are going to be bringing us peace, expelling the negative and bottled up and just suppressed emotions that we have, the more you will come into the habit of understanding that, hey, I'm feeling a certain way, I just need to take a step away, or I need to go do this, instead of making one problem turn into a year-long issue, right? A problem that took 1 second to emerge, right? It'll put us on pause for a long, long time. And from personal experience, it will happen if you are not careful. You have to pay attention. You have to be in control. I'm not saying control is ours to have of the outside world, but we have to be in control of our emotions, how we think, how we perceive, how we act. If we live in a negative mindset where we're always comparing ourselves, we're always jealous, the thoughts just aren't pure. They're not innate. I even remember back as being a kid, I wouldn't just see an average Joe and think all these weird thoughts in my head, whether it be from what they're wearing, how they're dressing, how they're looking. Now we're in like a comparison era. Social media has put us into the position where all we do is sit and compare. We compare our happiness to somebody else's happiness. When in reality, that person who looks like they're very happy, they may have endured a lifelong road of challenges, of slaps in the back of the head, right? Of falling down consistently. But it was through all those hardships, all those hard times, them pulling themselves back out of the hole that they fall into, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. They now are at a place where if a situation does happen, they can be content with it. If somebody rears ends you in traffic, you can walk out and giggle and say, hey, it's just a scratch. This is not tattletale on everybody, you know? It can be to the point where every time you see somebody, you just want to give somebody a compliment. Because you uplifting others is going to uplift your own spirits as well. So if you do find yourself sad, go uplift others. Go do volunteer work. Go do charity work. Go ask your old neighbor if they would like you to mow their lawn or wash their windows, you know, just because you want to. Go buy somebody some flowers. Go leave a little flower on your neighbor's door. You know what I mean? The more you force yourself to get into the action and the habit of, like I said, for one, allowing yourself to experience happy times. Don't just keep reading the same books over and over again. If you find yourself really enduring this self-love, world love, because it's not just about self-help anymore. We need to help others. If we're always just thinking about helping ourselves, it's always me, it's always me. What about everybody else, you know? What about their brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles? What about the people in all the other countries? When we help ourselves, we also have to help others, or it's gonna go nowhere. It's like one flower knowing that they have access to water and only watering themselves and letting all their friends die. It's like, yeah, you're pretty, but the bees wanna enjoy more flowers, you know? Life isn't always just single us. So I think that's also what is so beautiful, is to know that if we are going through a hardship, somebody else is going through the same thing, and if not worse. I think the more that we also put into perspective that, like, hey, I don't like my acne. There might be somebody who doesn't have eyes. They don't have the ability to even see acne. They would do anything in the world to be able to see a pimple. You don't like the way your legs look because of stretch marks. There are people out there who have lost their legs, who were not born with legs, who will not be able to experience even that hardship. So when we have these hardships, almost think of it in a reward. I know that sounds strange, but it's life offering you a means of, here's one more stepping stone, here's one more hurdle, here's one more test. Life is a huge test. It's going to consistently be a test. Isn't that the whole point of stepping outside of our comfort zone? Right? So if we are consistently being tested and we know how to push through and endure, it's like working out or learning a new trick. Learning how to cook. The more you work through, the more you push through it, you're like, I got this. I remember, you know, I was gonna like make up something hypothetically. Let's do not hypothetical, something real. I don't know. But just understanding the fact that life is consistently testing you, and that, hey, the universe sees you as a warrior, as a wild woman, as a wild man. They see you. They are watching you. The universe is watching. I think we need to worry when the universe isn't watching us, when everything's just fine, weird in a mellow way, right? Not mellow in a good way, just like really weird, you know? That's when we should worry. It's good when life is consistently throwing things at us. We can't just be content all the time. You know what I mean? Where's growth in that? The wind blows, it rains, nature is consistently being struck with lightning, with fires, with tsunamis. It ventures through, it pushes through, and it's been like that for years. Mother Nature doesn't give up, so use her, them, it as a inspiration. Know that, damn, that tree can literally be chopped down and still grow. It can grow a new one, or the tree that was chopped down can continue to grow itself. I can do it too. If I feel like I've been chopped, severed, if Mother Nature can get back with just water and sun, that's all we need to. Maybe you haven't been getting enough sunlight. Maybe you're not drinking enough water. Those are two of the easiest ways we can get rid of some of this just that's inside of us, right? It can be built off of emotions. It can be built off of current situations. It can be built off of the food we've been consuming and not working out properly, right? Our bodies aren't used to the blood boiling, so then when things happen, we freak out, right? And we don't know how to calm ourselves down. If you understand that we can't escape the sadness, we can't escape the pain, what does that force us to do? It forces us to adapt. We need to adapt to the situation. We need to adapt to the fact that life is a test. Instead, everybody's forgetting that. Everybody's thinking that this is paradise itself. Everybody's so obsessed with like all this material stuff, thinking that will get them happy. If they have a big house, a big car, a big family, a bunch of money, the best job, you can have all that in the world and still be miserable, right? It's about being able to endure and cope and just understand life is a test. I can open my door and be presented with a test. The more we accept that, the more it'll kind of be like, oh, it's okay that this is happening to me. I don't have to see this as a negative burden. It may suck, it may hurt, but that's what life is about. It growing pains, right? We remember being a kid, we wanted to grow tall so bad. It took growing pains to even go through something like that. You know, our body is a perfect representation of the outside world. If you listen to it, it will talk to you, just like the universe. If you listen to the universe, it's going to talk to you. We lost that touch. We lost that sense of just, this is one stop on a multi-dimensional ride, right? So when we become obsessed with our physical appearances, when we become obsessed about our exterior things, like the jewelry we wear, the makeup we wear, the clothes we wear, the car we drive, the things on our fingernails, you know, the way our hair looks, we're forgetting that life is passing by. We're forgetting that there's more to life than that. And then when hardships come, some have the coping mechanism of just going and buying new things. They want to go buy a car or buy themselves a nice gift. And yes, that's nice. But it's almost like that's just numbing the pain. It's not fixing it. It's not helping it. It's just going to lead you to go buy something else the next time, you know? But we want to get to a point where we realize and we remember we're just humans, okay? And this is kind of where I want to just slightly get onto the topic of moderation is a huge key in being able to cope and understand things. You don't want an excess of anything. You don't want to just compulsively just dive into something and grab all you can of it, right? Moderation. Like, leave a little bit for everybody else, you know? It's like when you hear about the family not having a lot of bread, and then they get bread and they just take off little pieces. There's not just some brother that takes it and eats it all, right? It's moderation. I wrote down on this little piece of paper, and I also wanted to say this quote. It's, okay, so when I think of moderation, I also think when we see things, it's natural as a human that we gather inspiration from it. We might want to be what we see, and that's what's happening a lot. That's where the whole comparison, I was saying, we live in a comparison era. We live in a mimicking era where everybody looks the same, everybody acts the same, everybody has to be the same, think the same, do the same, right? We cannot mimic one another and then think that we will be able to independently go and venture through learning how to cope with our life problems, right? If we're just going around mimicking everybody else. If you kind of grasp what I'm saying. So it says from here, from Adam, may peace be upon him, to the last baby born, no two people are exactly the same in appearances. Why then should they be the same in mannerisms and taste? We are all different. Our lives are all different. To expect the same thing to happen that has happened to somebody else, or the reward to come from this, or if, a loved one dies, to expect the same just situations and flow of the universe that somebody else had, right? I think the reason why we are such mimickers and such judgmental people is because we have, like I said, magnified the ability social media and life has. We've made it bigger than it is. We have consumed more than we need to of almost everything that's out there, right? So I wrote down on my list, media, money, physical appearances. We need to take all of that in moderation. We don't need to be consuming an excessive amount of all of this stuff every day, clouding our brain with senseless, brain-killing things, right? We can't do all of this work independently where we're reading, where we're training ourselves, where we're meditating, where we are trying to venture forward positively, and then go out and consume all of this negative media, whether it be just listening to somebody strange, listening to a weird song, scrolling on social media and just diving into a deep pit in your stomach because of the stuff you are consuming. If we realize that we are just either consuming too much of something, that can either be the good thing or the wrong thing, too much of anything is bad. It's like too much water can literally drown you, too little water can dehydrate you to the point of death. We have to stay on the middle ground. And I think when we stay in the middle ground, that is where we are just in moderation. We're not worried about the future. We're not worried about the past, right? If we're worried about the future, that's going to give us anxiety. If we're thinking about the past 24/7, we're going to be grieving. The middle line is that happiness. The middle line is being able to cope with the situations that are being brought to you. When situations arise, we don't fall into the habit of grieving, thinking about the past, bringing up old events, bringing up just horrible memories. When bad things happen, we don't set ourselves into the future and think about what life is going to be like 2 years ahead or a week ahead. We can't tell the future, predict the future. The future is not ours to even need to worry about. So when we get into the middle line, just the middle road, the path that's on earth, not anywhere else, I think we will have a better means of happiness, an easier path to this happiness, this word called happiness. We even have to be careful with how we love people. You have to be moderate in everything. You can't just pull your all into somebody. Just be obsessed and lust and just need and want and all of that, right? But then we can't block ourselves off so much to the point where it doesn't even feel like we have a connection or a relationship at all. We need to have a solid middle ground, a safe middle ground. Because if we're able to understand that there needs to be a safe middle ground in different aspects of our life, say just money, we realize, hey, I'm too obsessed with money right now. Then we can take a step and look at all other aspects of our life. Our spiritual aspect, our the way we're working, the love, the relationships that we're carrying, whether that be with family or with friends. Moderation is key. Another thing that came to mind in what I see sometimes a lot of YouTubers doing, and it's something that I kind of found myself not doing anymore, and it kind of it tears at me here and there, so I never know, but sometimes I think that people have gotten into the habit of just oversharing too much on social media. There's no middle line anymore. Everybody has to share everything. And then it kind of has conditioned society into, if you don't share everything, what are you hiding? What are you doing? You know? So I think that we have just fallen into this like egg carton and we closed the lid. Like, stuck it in the fridge. Walked away. Forgot about it, right? When we overshare and always talk about the sad things that are happening with us, it pushes the pleasant and the happy events and the positive emotions from coming into us. We literally put up a steel wall and we say, hey, stop. Our way of coping is us over-exaggerating sometimes too. Over-exaggerating a good situation or a bad situation, and then we wonder why we're not happy. And I think it's because we're exaggerating. We are overdoing it with everything. We're consuming too much. Like, we're on the right path, but just not quite. And it's really hard because the right path, quote unquote, isn't the way the world turns. The world is ran off of sex, money, drugs, and music, right? Which is just a mixing pot of, I don't know. I really don't know. So, again, if one of the ways that we find ourselves coping is consistently putting on music, whether that be happy music or sad music, and then just letting the feelings ride away, that's not really mending anything. Because like I said, then we'll just find a new song to play the next time we're sad. As opposed to learning how to just, and I'm not saying it's bad to be sad. Life is just so beautiful, and time is of the essence, but our time here is so short that we don't want to spend it sad. We don't want to spend it stressed, negative, anxious, curious. Curious is good. I take that back. We do want to be curious, but in a good way, right? We don't want to be curious in the sense that it causes us to have anxiety. So it's not that I'm saying don't be sad, but I am encouraging you to find a way to cope and be able to handle any situation. It's okay to cry, but it's also very beautiful being able to have some news be told to us or have an event come to us and not feel that rush of crazy emotions. We're able to sit there and maturely think. We're able to be clear-headed and think, okay, how am I going to go about this? So one, maybe this doesn't stop my whole day. 2, throw me into a depressive state. Or 3, make me lose all hope in humanity and mankind. The more we persevere, you guys, the easier hardships will be. Hardships are going to be everywhere. Just like there's hard rocks everywhere. There's always a place for you to trip and fall. That's just life. It's teaching us. It's getting us ready for the next step. So don't be too obsessed with what's happening here. Get ready for the next ride, but also stay in the middle ground of this world. So, I really think that if we work towards that middle ground, work on moderation, work on finding new habits and new ways of coping, stepping outside of our comfort zone like we've been saying, I truly know it will put us on the right path, and it will raise the vibrations and frequencies of this poor earth that Mother Nature is trying so hard to sustain for us. We have to pay her back the dues. And we do that by taking care of ourselves. I promise, the world is a literal reflection of us. It is a mirror image of ourselves. So if we look at everything and we're disgusted by it, or never want to go outside of the house, or just the thought of other people just makes us want to spit up some milk, then we're nasty inside. And the more nasty people get, the less there is love and care for even the world and each other. So I really I wanted to talk to you guys about those thoughts that I've been thinking about happiness and about moderation and just taking things a little bit easy. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I don't mean to kind of end abruptly, but I don't really know what else to say without getting onto other topics that I think would be cool for like a video on its own. But this is the book that I have been reading, and it's so funny. It's called Don't Be Sad. And I will say, just for just a little, if you're a book nerd, I'm done with the videos, so I'll see you guys later, unless you want to hear about this book a little bit. But this book is absolutely amazing. It's very difficult for me to sometimes find religious-based books that don't overdo it, right? Like I was saying, they did moderation. They did it nice and beautifully in this book. For somebody who isn't religious but loves to learn from religion and apply different practices and teachings to my own life, this book has been so extremely helpful. Sometimes I get turned off by a book when it's just straight religious talk, when all they do is quote texts from whether it be the Bible or the Quran or the Torah. This book is written, so I'm so hot. I'm sorry, it's a nice day today, but this book is written beautifully. There's no really chapters, so in the sense, like, these are how long their chapters are. So it gives you a topic and then it talks about it. It gives you a new topic, talks about it. So for example, it says how to deal with bitter criticism. Do not expect gratitude from anyone. Doing good to others gives comfort to the heart. Don't be a mimicker. Repel boredom with work. The pens have been lifted, the pages have dried. Like, it's beautiful. Gather the honey and don't break the hive. Accept life as it is. This book is beautiful. I recommend it to you guys. It's a easy read. I don't know if you'll get the same version as me, but for some reason the pages, the pen, whether you're writing with a pen or a pencil, it's not like regular hard paper. It's almost like that moleskin paper. Yeah, sorry. So this is an absolute recommendation. You can read this and you'll read 50 pages and time flies and it just feels beautiful, and then you feel beautiful. I feel inspired. I just want to read the book to you guys because it's such a beautiful book. But I just wanted to share with you that little bit of happiness, like the little thoughts that I was having on finding happiness and what it means to be happy. And again, it's just having the ability to endure and cope with any situation. It's not running around with a smile on your face all the time. It's not being Miss USA. It's not this, that, and the other, right? Just being able to deal with situations maturely, cool, calm, and collectively. And yeah, allow life to then show you what's next. Present you with your next task, next test, next level. Level up, y'all. So yes, thank you for watching this, and I hope that you guys are doing amazing. Thank you, Ashley. She made this beautiful top for me. And also, those of you who wrote to me in my P.O. box, I've gotten so many beautiful letters, and tomorrow I'm going to sit down and write you guys back. The artwork some of you guys have sent me was beautiful. Just in case you're watching, because I know she was watching the other one. Hold on. Simona, she sent me some tea. Oh, here it is. Yes. Look at how cute. She sent me this beautiful penny. Wrote the cutest little letter. I loved it. I swear, every time that you guys write me, I cry. Look at how beautiful this is. Isn't that so neat? It says, I am a queen of staying... I'm sorry. I am a queen of wanting to stay curious. Bet you didn't expect to see me so soon. Isn't that so cute? I love it. She goes, you are a queen of wanting to stay curious. And that really made my heart feel nice. So yes, thank you guys. I can't express how much it means to me when I receive letters or tokens or anything from you guys. I really don't know where I would be without you. So thank you. I'm going to be writing you guys back. I just want you to know that these do not go unseen, and they do not just get tossed. I'm literally working on a big ass scrapbook. Sorry, I did not mean to cuss. Yeah, I did. Alright, anyway. That's all for now, folks. I will see you later. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about. Oh, I think I want to talk about social anxiety, because a lot of you guys have been wanting me to talk about that, and that's a huge thing. That's a big thing, and it's a serious thing. So, yeah, maybe that will be the topic of my next video. But I really hope that you enjoyed this. Drink your water, eat a beautiful dinner, go to sleep early, and yeah. Hear the wind? Alright, time for me to go. Mother Nature's blowing me away. Alright, guys. Peace, love, and happiness. And tranquility.